live from our Google headquarters in Mountain View, California. So I'm really excited to be here today with Nicholas Sparks, who's one of today's most successful and really beloved authors. So Nick has written 16 novels, 7 of which have become movies. They include things like The Notebook, A Walk to Remember, and Dear John. They've been translated into 45 languages, and this is pretty crazy. They've sold tens of millions of copies, so a lot of people have read Nick's work. He lives in North Carolina with his wife and family, and if you know his work well, you know that's also where a lot of the books and movies are set. So we're here today mostly to talk about The Lucky One, which is being made into a movie starring Zac Efron and Taylor Schilling, and it's coming out next week, so we're really excited. It's a pretty incredible story. So soldier finds a picture of a woman on a battlefield, and the picture brings him good luck, so he sets out when he gets back from war to go find this woman. He walks across the country and actually discovers her in North Carolina. They fall in love, and then you get all the drama and betrayal and intrigue that ensues. It's all the good, juicy, and heart-wrenching and tear-inducing stuff that we've really come to expect from this master storyteller. So I don't want to give too much away. Definitely go online, watch the trailer, and you'll want to run out and see the movie right away. So just to start, so welcome, Nick. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks. It's fun, having fun.
So I also wanted to introduce myself quickly. My name is Toby Stein. I'm a community manager here with the Google Plus team in Mountain View, California. So I'm really excited to moderate because I know like The Notebook and all of Nick's other movies are sort of cultural touchstones for us. And as you've noticed, not only do we have Nick here, but we've invited I think 6 Google Plus users to be in this Hangout with us and ask Nick some questions live. So they posted on Nick's Google Plus page, which you should all check out after this Hangout, and they asked a question. So we've now invited them into this Hangout to ask this question live. So I know they're really excited. I don't want to take too much time, but I did want to get this sort of started with sort of a warm-up question or two, so we can get a chance to get ready to go here. So my first question comes from Charm, who's a Google Play user. So she posted this question on the Google Play page on Google+. That's sort of a 2-part question. So Nick, the first question is, how do you come up with such great stories? So what's your inspiration? And the second one is, do you have a special connection to the military? Because 3 movies, Notebook, Dear John, and now The Lucky One, all have lead male characters who are in the military.
Inspiration is it's an interesting thing. It's much less of something magical happening and an entire idea for a novel suddenly striking with sudden clarity. It's more that it's more akin to you get a small idea and then you kind of build onto that idea, and you build onto it almost in a logical progression of you ask yourself what if or why. You say, gosh, he finds this photograph, he wants to find this person, for instance. Why? What happened to him? And then you just kind of bounce ideas around, and you do that about the character, and you do that about the plot and the overall plot and the smaller plot elements. And finally, at the end, you have 1,000 ideas swimming around in there, and there's some combination that strikes you as exactly right. And you might call that also an inspirational moment. You say, aha, this is it. Now I know I'm ready to tell this story. So sometimes it can be a very short period of time. It might take a week to come up with till I'm ready to start writing. Other times, with the novel I'm working on now, it took almost 5 months to think of the story, and you just have to piece bits and pieces together. And where that comes from, I don't know. I read a lot. You keep your eyes open. You know people. It's kind of this magical creative process. As for the second question, do I have a special kinship with the military? Most of my family was in the military, of course, and I live in New Bern, North Carolina, and we're literally surrounded by the military. A lot of active duty personnel in North Carolina, whether it's Fort Bragg or Camp Lejeune or Seymour Johnson Air Force Base or Cherry Point. I mean, they're literally within an hour of the house where I live. So the military is very much part and parcel with life there. So if you're going to write a story about people in their 20s, certainly the military is one option for a job. And then you add in the fact that, like I said, most of my family's military. I guess I have certain biases toward, I like the military, and the people that I meet in my town who are in the military, I find them for the most part honorable and full of integrity and good people. So I bring that into the stories that I write.
Cool. Thank you. That's That's a great answer. So when The Lucky One comes out, it'll be the 7th book of yours that's been made into a movie. So
Yeah.
what do you think it is about your style of writing or your style of storytelling that really lends itself to movie making? I mean, do you write with movies in mind?
All right, that's 2 questions. So why? Yeah, that's 2 questions. Why does Hollywood make them? Because they're successful, right? You have this long track record. So basically, they're not doing it because I'm a nice guy or anything. They want to make a movie that they're in business to be successful. So you have partly that's what drives the studios. The producers like them. They tend to like them because they're the kind of stories that they want to tell that they don't always get to tell. And I think the actors like them because they really get to move through the entire range of human emotion. They can really prove that they can perform in a movie in which that largely hinges on their own ability as an actor. It's almost like Broadway. So you have all of these elements that come together, and so they tend to get bought, and then they get made. And so for your second, why do I think of the movie? Yes, to a certain extent, because I do know that they're going to maybe get picked up into film, but all that does is it makes the conception of the story harder because you want to be original now, not only for as a novel, you want to be original as a film as well. So if you're thinking about images, you want to make sure that you haven't seen them in film before. So again, it just makes the story more different.
Great. So we have a late arrival. Welcome, Kathleen.
Hi. Thank you.
Nick was just answering a question about sort of making his books into movies, and now it is time for the 7 of you to ask me a question. So we're going to start with Aaliyah on the end. So if all of you just introduce yourselves, maybe say what your favorite book or movie is of Nick's, and anything else you want to share with us, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah. I'm from Lebanon, Missouri. And I actually am tied between The Notebook and A Walk to Remember for my favorites. Those movies just really kind of evoke something in me, those two. So I can't really choose one. My question for you is kind of a 2-part question. First, how do you go about building your characters as far as creating within those characters the emotions that you desire for the reader to feel? But then also, when you finish writing your character or your novel, do you experience some kind of sadness for not having them in your life anymore from your writing?
Well, when you first build a character, it's largely the character, you start with like the age, but then after that, what you're trying to do is for me at least, I think of the story overall first, and then I say to myself, what would be the best kind of character to make this story come to life? And so do I need a quieter character? Do I need a passionate character? Do I want to add someone who's struggling as a single parent? Do I want to have someone who's burdened by the past? And so start with the story and you figure out what kind of character brings that person to life. So you start with that and you piece together the character in that format. Then you had the emotion, and that's an entirely different question, because once you have the story, in my mind I think at least on a subconscious level, where you're trying to go, and you move the emotion like a song, so to speak. You want to play it just right. You want to move them through all of these different emotions at just the right intensity. And if you do it right, there's something really wonderful created at the end. With that said, I do it wrong almost every single time, right? And how it gets right is you edit like crazy, and that's just part and parcel. I spend probably more time editing than I do writing a novel, and this is before my editor or my agent get their hands on it. So, you put it down, you say, that's wrong, this is the wrong emotion, or this is the right emotion, but the intensity is wrong, or I'm trying to create this emotion, but the tone is wrong, and so then you kind of noodle with it to fix until it's finally right. And there comes a point in time where I can look at a paragraph or a page or a section, I say, aha, I think this is about as close as I'm going to be able to get, and I think I've got it right. And then you move on. So then your final question is, At the end of a book, do I miss these characters? No. No, I'm done. Look, I finish a book. The last thing I want to do is look at that book again for a while, right? I mean, writing a novel is hard for me. I find it incredibly challenging. And so there's an enormous sense of satisfaction that it's finally complete. And I'm like, this is great. It's done. Go away. And give me a little bit of time and I'll look at it again.
I expect that.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Ashley, you're up.
I'm Ashley Deal. I'm from Moultrie, Georgia. I am a new Navy wife. My husband is currently stationed in South Carolina. And my question is, when you get writer's block, how do you overcome it?
I get writer's block every day. Every single day. And most days it doesn't take long to get over. So how do you get over it? For me, writer's block is essentially you don't know what to do. So you stop writing. And so how do you get over it? Maybe you step away for a few minutes. You go for a drive. You go for a walk. You go talk to the wife. You step away, basically. That's one option. Sometimes you try to work through it. Sometimes you throw something down and see if it's anywhere close, and then maybe there's a germ in there that you can then build off of to fix it. Other times, though, when I'm stuck for a day or 2 days or 3 days, I realize that something in my subconscious is stopping me from going further. And so for me, it's sometimes writer's block is a subconscious stop. It's telling me, don't take the novel in this direction because it's going to be a problem down the road. And I don't even necessarily know what that problem will be. I just know that there's going to be a problem. So to get over it, what I'll do is I'll backtrack in the novel until the point where writing became difficult. Because usually writing's going well, then it slows down, so, and then you stop. So I'll go to where it first started slowing down and say, what did I do there? Maybe I ended the chapter there, or I started something new, or I started a new thought, a new thread of some sort. And I'll say, okay, let's get rid of that and see what happens. And so far, every time, one of those two solutions has got me through writer's block, either stepping away for a few minutes or taking the novel in a new direction from the spot where it had stopped working.
Cool. By the way, my two favorites are The Notebook and Dear John. Dear John helped while hubby was off at basic training.
Thanks. Great.
Okay, Cassandra, your turn.
My name is Cassandra Ogeen. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And first of all, I'd like to say what a privilege it is to be talking to you today. I'm so honored. I've been a fan for 18 years.
Thank you.
You are just an awesome writer. You've got me through really, really hard times. And I have been a fair weather fan for a long, long time. My question is, what type of writing ritual do you have? And how do you think it's evolved through the years? I know you have children and a wife, and I know you started in college, and I think you met your wife early on, but you just got your first book after college. I think maybe the first year or after college, and that's what I want to know.
Okay, writing ritual. I wrote my first novel at 19 over the summer between my freshman and sophomore year. I wrote my second novel at 22 after I graduated, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I wrote The Notebook when I was 28 after a midlife crisis, so to speak. I had to chase a dream, and I said, okay, this dream will be writing. So as far as the writing ritual, I don't know how much it has changed over the years. Really what I sit down to do is I try to write 2,000 words. 2,000 words is a good number for me. It keeps me it's slow enough that I can maintain at least a rough semblance of quality, but it's fast enough that I don't lose the pacing of the novel. If I write slower than that, I lose the pacing. I can't see where I am. So 2,000 words is a good number for me. And I will usually write that from I try to write while the children are in school because, this way it works best for the family that way. At 2,000 words, it takes me, at 2,000 words a day, it takes me about 65 to 70 days of writing, which would be 130,000 to 140,000 words, of which, you know, with deletions and stuff, I have 100,000 words that I'm going to keep. So it's 65 to 70 days out of 150, 160 days, 170 days. It's something along those lines. Now, on the other days, I'm either editing, or I'm here at Google hanging out, or I'm doing something with the kids, or I'm promoting a film, or I'm producing a film, or I'm just trying to think of what I'm going to do next. So the typical length then at that pace is, you know, 5 months or so to complete a novel. It's been something that has worked for me. I'm very comfortable with that, and I think it's a good idea to get in some sort of habit that fits with your schedule, whether it's I can write for 2 hours a day, or I can write 2 pages a day, or I can write 1,000 words a day. Whatever it is, it's good to get in some sort of schedule, even if it's 3 or 4 times a week, because you know, the only way a novel ever gets written is to actually sit down and write the darn thing.
Right.
By the way, my favorite book is A Walk to Remember. I am Landon, just so you know. You'd think I'd say I'm Jamie, but I'm not Jamie. I'm Landon. And I liked The Notebook. It was my favorite movie.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking.
Hillary, go for it.
Hi, I'm Hillary. I'm from Los Angeles, California. And I have to say that my favorite probably would have to be Dear John, because I have a boy in the military, and I've seen him, let's see, maybe twice face-to-face the past 2 years. And so that really kind of hit home with me. And so my question is, I know that your novels probably end up feeling like your baby, and you know, you spend so much time on them and you work so hard on them. What's your biggest fear when, you know, a studio comes to you and says, hey, we're going to turn this into a movie, we'd like to? What's your biggest fear when making that transition from the pages to the screen?
The biggest fear that I have is that they do it poorly. That's the biggest fear, and I think any author would say that, and that's kind of a vague term. What does that mean to me? I really, when I go into when I'm working with a studio or a screenwriter or a producer, I really only give 3 general rules. I say, maintain the spirit and the intent of the plot, the story, maintain the spirit and the intent of the characters, and then make the best film that you possibly can. And these sound very broad, but I stand by them because it's important to, you know, you have to do these 3 things. I won't let those slide. But you also have to give creative people enough creativity to make the movies feel different. See, if I was the only one involved with them, you know, they might begin to feel the same. And so you want to have, you know, directors bring something to the table, and the actors, the talent brings something to the table, and the screenwriter will bring some creativity to the table. So the art is knowing when you step in and when you don't, and you let things stand. So in the end, my biggest fear is that they make a bad movie, because I really want to just have people enjoy the films as much as they enjoyed the novel.
Great. Kathleen, you're up.
Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is a thrill to me and an honor. I'm going to say that my favorite book is The Notebook. But I have 2 new favorites. I love all your books. I've read you at 1996. I started, and I can't wait for another book to come out. The Lucky One and The Safe Haven, with a little bit of paranormal and the Kismet. I really, really love that you added that to your writing, and then later with the suspense also. Thank you so much for that. There was somebody that asked a question that I had in mind, so I'm going to ask you a different question. And that is, in your process of a new story, and you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, of course, what do you find is your most difficult time of the story and during the process, and maybe the best time for you that you enjoy the most in the writing process?
The worst period of time is right around the 120-page mark. That's the worst. I mean, because you're about 30 to 40% done with the novel, and it's taken you so long to get there. Because starting a novel, there are different challenges. You're trying to find the right voice. Even if you know what's going to happen in the story, you've got to find the right voice, and you've got to find the right pacing, right? So it's been a tremendous amount of intellectual work and creative work to get to this point, right? So you've worked so hard to get to this 120 pages, and then you look up into the distance and you say, oh my gosh, I'm only 33% done. I've got double this left to go. This is a horribly, for me, this is the hardest time. Because once you get to the 50%, right, then you're like, oh, it's all downhill. Everything I'm writing, I'm getting closer to the end. But right now, that 30% mark is hard. The best part for me is toward the end, right? You're feeling like you can feel the end coming. You know you've gotten through all of these goals you've set for yourself. You're pretty much unwinding the story, right? Once you get to the part where you're unwinding the story toward the end, that's just a really wonderful feeling, and I like it. The favorite thing I ever write in a novel is the very last sentence that I write.
Thank you.
Great. Kit, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm calling from New York, and
Hello.
my name is Kit. I have two favorite books. One is The Guardian. I love that book, and The Rescue. Mainly The Rescue because I felt like I waited so long for the ending, and I feel like he really delivered. And the story from his childhood about the burning fire, that was awesome. I loved that. What I see with your work is that so many people are emotionally connected to your stories. And so I was wondering if there's a particular story that you're really emotionally connected with, that you can, that your kind of personal life you see that in that story.
Well, that's tough to say because there have been a few novels that have been drawn from events in my own life, or at least partially inspired by events in my life. There are certain characters that are drawn from people in my life. So to say one is particularly close as far as the novels go, the answer would be no. But the one that is closest to me, I guess, overall would be 3 Weeks with My Brother, because that was a memoir of my family's story. So when I wrote that was one that was very challenging emotionally for me to write, because essentially I had to relive some very tragic events in my past, and I had to relive them in such a way that I could make it real for other readers. So that was a novel in which I was writing that I had to push away, or that was not a novel, that was a book that I was writing where I had to literally push away from the desk for a while just to clear my own mind. It's funny you should mention The Rescue, though. That was the other one I really had to push away from. Because Kyle was in many ways one of my children, and it was really going back to this period in our life where we were very worried about him and we didn't know what to do, and all of Denise's fears in that novel were basically my fears. If you ever want to know how I was feeling at that period in my life, just go back and read The Rescue.
Thank you.
Great. Mary, you're up.
My name is Mary, and I'm calling from Pasadena, California. And my favorite book is either The Last Song or The Wedding. And I'm actually have become so obsessed with your books that I'm planning a trip to North Carolina this summer. But my question is that oftentimes I've noticed that you write from a woman's perspective, and I was wondering how you get inside our heads so well, and also if you maybe prefer writing from a woman's perspective, or why you do that.
I've been blessed with a lot of wonderful women in my life. I had a great mom and great sister, and I'm married very well. I have daughters. My agent's a female. My editor's female. Most of the strongest, most influential people in my life have been women, to be quite frank. So there's that element. And the other part, you add in the fact that, hey, I like women, right? So I'm going to try to make them come alive. So you have that too. As far as crafting the right emotion and crawling into their head, what I do is once you create a certain type of woman in you and imbue her with these characteristics of let's say kind of an inner strength and yet a passion and a little bit of fire and some and intelligence and a sense of humor, you know, their personality is going to begin to shine through. And I think women really appreciate this, either because A, they see these traits in themselves, and these are the traits they most appreciate in themselves, or some of these are the traits they see in other women that they really admire, or they're the traits that they're working on, right? You know, you're working toward, you know, being stronger, right? For instance, inside, right? You know, handling the ups and downs of life a little bit better. The key is to understand that everyone's always going through this struggle, and so I just write, I guess, the way this character, if they had these characteristics, how they would feel. I get told this a lot. I don't know how I write women so well. I really don't. I just write them, you know. And there they are. I write them until I like them, and then everyone says, "Wow, you write women well." I'm like, "Well, that's good because I like them."
Great. So it looks like we have a little bit of extra time. Let's see if Jessica, who's joining us a little late, is here. Jessica, welcome. Can you hear us? Jessica, we're very excited to be here. So, Jessica, did you have a question for Nick?
Yes, I do. Let me just open up my window. I'm so sorry, I'm so late.
No, do you want to introduce yourself? Say where you're
really
joining
struggled.
us from?
Hi, I'm Jessica Nguyen Fong. I'm currently in LA, but I'm from Singapore. Hello?
Cool. So whenever you're ready with a question.
Is it working? I don't
Yep,
know.
it's working.
It's working. Ask the question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So my question is, I'm just going to read it off. Sorry, your books have made such a huge impact on many people's lives and clearly are very popular in media, and you're constantly producing new novels, and producers are buying the rights to turn them into successes. And I was just wondering, like, because your work is so prevalent in the media world, how do you feel that do you feel like you are shaping the way people view love? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, I've been asked that question before. No, I don't. I think I more or less just reflect just genuine human emotion. I think that when you fall in love, you fall in love. And although everyone's experience is unique, everyone's experience is also the same in that the feelings are very intense. There's a deep care. There's a lot of reasons to fall in love. And so I just try to put those down on paper the correct way. And I think that one of if there's any secret to what I write, it's that there are no secrets, right? If you're angry, if you fall in love, or if you're sad, it feels the same, you know, in 1946 as it feels today. It feels the same if you're a man as if you're a woman. I guess that's the magic of answering that. So no, I don't think I'm shaping it, but I do think, you know, ideally I'm accurately reflecting it.
Okay. So you don't think these extreme circumstances are merely fantasy?
I don't know. I mean, you know, if you look at The Notebook, you know, there was nothing extreme in there. They met one summer, and
That's true.
And then she comes back years later and realizes that this was the guy she wanted to love. Or, you know, Walk, remember, there are a couple of people in high school, right? They have to be in a school play together. I don't know that anything has really been extraordinarily impossible to imagine, and that's one of the things that I do try to craft into my novels is utter sense of believability that it could happen to you or it could happen to someone that you know. So that's why I think they tend to resonate.
Right.
Now, I'm, of course, with that said, I'm not saying that every girl in the world will marry someone who looks like Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Right? There are some nice looking actors. And
Hey, I came pretty close.
And how do you think? Are you happy with your portrayals of your books into these blockbusters?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Look, I've been.
I am too. But
I love the films, and I'm just happy that other people have enjoyed them as well. You know, in the end, I wrote a story because I wanted people to enjoy the story, and I'm thrilled that so many people enjoy the novels that I write. but I understand that not everyone's a reader, and I'm just glad that people who aren't readers get to experience the story as well. That's why I read it, right? If read it, why would I have written it at all?
Cool. Great. So it looks like we actually have.
Thank you very much.
It looks like we have a little extra time here, which is an awesome opportunity for some of you to ask second questions. I know I gave you I teased you a little in the beginning by saying you may or may not have time. So hopefully you have some saved up. But while you guys are thinking of maybe your second question you want to ask, I wanted to ask, Nick, you mentioned earlier that you read a lot. I read somewhere, over 100 books a year. So wondering sort of who your favorite authors are, what styles you like to read, anything like that.
I read a lot. I read about 40% of what I read is nonfiction. It's history and economics and biographies. 60% is novels, and it runs the gamut. It's commercial fiction. I worked through a lot of the classics or modern classics already. I'll read some foreign fiction. I'll read what's generally regarded as literary fiction, and I'll enjoy it as long as it's good. Anything. So I don't necessarily have an absolute favorite. There's certainly a lot of authors that I think have just done an extraordinary job over the years, and I certainly enjoy their work. I think Stephen King does a terrific job.
Cool. So Jessica, can I ask you to mute your microphone while we're doing the second
sorry.
round? No worries. So whoever has another question, now's your chance.
I do.
Okay, great. Go for it.
When are you ever going to come to Albuquerque so I can come and see you live?
Yeah.
I've waited 18 years.
Yeah, that is a stop I've never made. I don't know why. I will talk to my publicist. I do my best to, if I don't get places on tours, to try to have speeches there or to come up with a reason to go there. But in the end, I kind of have to be invited there if it's going to be a speech or an event by someone. So maybe, I don't know, talk to the library or something, or talk to the university. Maybe they'll figure out a way to get me in to speak, and then I'm there. Right? Sometimes that's actually easier than to get me for a book signing event. And I, of course, sign books at the speeches. But if I'm on tour, I go to 10 cities or 12 cities. 5 of them are can't be altered. So really, 5 or 6 of them. So really, you only have 6 choices. There's only 6 spots open a year, if that, for the book tour. But speeches, I book year-round. So I don't know. Maybe that's the way you go.
Well, we may have just chosen your next destination.
I do have.
We have time for 2 more. So
I don't have a question. I do have one comment, and it's from my husband. He actually told me to tell you thank you. We actually have lived our lives pretty much like The Notebook and like Dear John. And he just wanted to say thank you for keeping me sane and not driving him crazy, because boot camp was complete and utter hell. We were apart for 2 months, never really apart. Now we're apart again, and he's coming home tonight. So he just wanted to really seriously tell you thank you. He got me more books that I didn't have from you. Now I can't remember. I think it was Safe Haven was the last one he got me. And it really helps. He says when I'm reading you and and reading your books, he says it really helps keep his sanity, and he just wanted to say thank you so much for that.
Well, you're very welcome, and I'm honored. Just thank you for enjoying them. It's good, and I'm glad he's coming home. That should be a nice. That should be fun tonight, right?
Yes, as soon as he gets here. Then we're gonna go see my grandparents up in North Georgia, so I can't wait.
Really? Your husband's coming home, and you're going to take him to see your grandparents?
Yeah, they want to see him. My grandfather is Air Force. So
look, let's just say that would not happen in my novel. It might be.
Put it this way: I went to South Carolina last weekend with his mother, and he's like, "I wish she didn't come because I want to show you a bunch of South Carolina stuff." Because he's stationed in Beaufort and Parris Island, so he's a corpsman. He works with the Marines. He can't stand it, but he chose this to take care of me. That's what he always tells me. So when Noah and Allie have their little fight and they're yelling at each other and calling each other like a pain in the ass, yeah, that'd be us.
It looked like Kathleen. It looked like you jumped at the second
Thank you.
question.
I wanted to make a quick comment and then I wanted to ask a quick question. I wanted to tell you that I enjoy your books so much that I take my time when I read them because I feel sad when I end it because I know I have to wait for another one and I'm upset. I see people shaking their heads, they understand it, but I still, it's just so I make it like a nice fine meal or a wine. I just take my time with it because then I'm going to miss it. But also I wanted to make a comment. Thank you so much for sharing your story about your publication when you got the call from your agent for the Notebook. I've read that over and over again and it inspires me. It's inspirational. I wanted to ask you, did you have a feeling about the Notebook that it would be anything that it is today, that it might just be the book that you get that call on? Did you have a feeling towards that? Did you have any idea of how wonderful it was?
Yeah, but I don't think that that's unusual for anyone who writes their first novel, right? They all think it's good. Otherwise, why would they try to get it published? I think I thought it was good. I thought it had some magical elements, but I'm not the one who's going to make that decision in the end. You know, you're going to have an agent decide whether or not to select it, and then a publisher decide whether or not to publish it, and then you're going to have the readers decide whether or not they like reading it, and people like to see it in the film. Those are things that are so far beyond your control. Mm-hmm. So I think that I thought it was good, and after that, you just hope and pray that other people feel the same way.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Well, this has been a really awesome little hangout here. We're really grateful for all of you for joining us and for Nick for taking the time to answer your questions. I know I'm not alone when I say I can't wait for The Lucky One to come out. So I think everyone should go out and see it first night, and also check out Nick's Google Plus page where there will be updates and other things like that. And again, thanks for joining us. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
What do we do? Just
Wait, I'm